What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome back to Warriors Latest. As always, I am your host, Max Arizin. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you enjoy the show today, as I do post new Warriors videos daily, and it does help the channel continue to grow as the season moves along. Now, I was watching Friday night's game. I expected it to be a real, just like, show of force by the Warriors, and for a little bit it was. It was a so-so first quarter. Second quarter, Warriors did what they do and take over. But they blew it. And you can blow it against good teams because they have the ability to come back, but you can't blow it against teams like the Trailblazers. They're going nowhere fast, and they're bound for another year in the lottery. Now, their prospects do look good with the new ownership and some young guys they have, like Donovan Clingan, but they should not be the team that beats the Warriors for the first time on their home court this season. The Warriors should be 6-0 right now on their home court, not 5-1. And this game, it was sad. And it can't get much sadder than this because I'm looking at these numbers, and it was disappointing. Like, looking at Steph, he had 38 points. Like, he did pretty well, and the Warriors had control for the majority of the second half until the fourth quarter hit and things just went downhill fast. But looking at it, like, Jimmy had 20, Steph had 38, Moody had 10, and then Pods had 20, which was not that bad. I like that. I think that'll serve him well moving forward. But the biggest issue, again, were the turnovers. Or actually, surprisingly, not this time. It was actually the rebounding effort, and I've said it over and over and over again. The Warriors they can't be playing this small ball lineup and continuing to expect it to work. And by continuing to throw out a lineup of Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Will Richard, and Moses Moody, you're going to get beat on the rebounds. And the Warriors got out-rebounded 52-32. And that's just embarrassing. And especially when they're two bigger guys, like Donovan Clingan had 22 and 10. Denny Ajevi had 26 and 13 assists. So that was not bad. But most of their guys, they're not going out of their way to grab rebounds. Yes, they are taller, but the Warriors need to find ways to overcome. And if that means playing Quentin Post more than 17 minutes a game, you play him more than 17 minutes a game. Because looking at it, their big men are Trace Jackson Davis, Al Horford, Quentin Post, and Draymond Green. Out of all those guys, only Quentin Post is 7 foot. And when you're going up against teams like, say the Blazers, who have Robert Williams, who have Donovan Clingan, who have Hanson Yang, and they're just a bigger overall team, this small ball lineup isn't going to work. Because we think back of when small ball started working for the Warriors. They had Klay Thompson, Draymond as the facilitator, as well as David Lee, Andrew Bogut, who manned the middle and was that big stalwart that could be physical with other big men in the league. And they also had Klay Thompson, who could shoot the lights out from three, along with Steph, who can still shoot the lights out. But right now, this team isn't a team that could shoot the lights out like it used to. And just changes need to be made, because you can't suffer your first home loss against a team that is going through as much turmoil and turnover as the Blazers are. They lost their head coach to FBI indictment. They just got new ownership. Their star player, Dame Lillard, is out for the season. And they were extremely short-handed, as Hanson Yang didn't even play. Dame Lillard obviously didn't play. Drew Holiday didn't play, and Shaedon Sharpe didn't play. So this was a give-me game, and they just let it slip through their fingers. Moving forward, the Warriors can't have games like this. But thankfully, this isn't the end of the world, as the Dubs have the opportunity to really bounce back against the Jazz. Now, looking at the Jazz game, I'm not as concerned about them as I am with, say, the Blazers, because the Blazers, it's obvious they're one of those teams that just has the Warriors number. So I'm going to brush this off, but they do need to play better. And looking at the injury report, all right, so pretty much everybody outside of DeAnthony Melton is a game-time decision. This isn't as big of a team as it was last year. Looking at their roster, let's see, getting the Jazz up. They're 5-10. They're not something that I'm overly concerned about. Like, they have Kyle Filipowski, which is which is an issue. He hasn't really been doing that much, but Lauri Markkanen has and they have Justif Nurkic, which is going to be a problem. That's a big lineup, and Ace Bailey has been playing fairly well so far this season. Now we got Filipowski averaging 20 minutes. We've got Markkanen averaging 35. Walker Kessler, before he got injured, was averaging 30, and then Kevin Love is still playing up there, along with Nurkic, who is averaging 24 points. So we're going to get a lot of guys, like a lot of big players in this Jazz lineup that are going to create problems for the Warriors. Luckily, the Warriors still have that experience over the Jazz, while their Jazz are extremely young. And the Warriors have to do something to at least make it look like they know what they're doing. Because right now, the Warriors look like they're not even a play-in team. They're a lottery bound team. Because they lose to the Jazz, they're under 500. And as Draymond said at the beginning of the season, they don't want to have to play from behind the eight ball for the entirety of the season, because we saw what happened versus the Wolves last season. Eventually, they're going to run out of gas. And if they run out of gas too soon, they're going to be a lottery-bound team. And you got to ask, like guys like Joe Lacob, Peter Gruber, Mike Dunleavy, they got to ask themselves, where are they going with this team? Because right now, they're not a team that can compete for a championship if they continue to think that lineups like this are going to work. Yes, they could potentially sign other shooters like Seth Curry, bring him in. They could trade guys like Pods and things like that, but who knows what they could do. There's so many different options or avenues that can be taken that you have to evaluate where you see this going. Because if they fall below 500, a move has to be made. Like, as I said, the Bigs problem needs to be addressed by the Warriors sooner rather than later. And they need to address it before they fall below 500, if they even do fall below 500. Because this is not a team that's going to win a lot of games if they don't have a solid 7-footer who can grab rebounds. Like, losing the rebounding battle on Friday to the Blazers by 20 rebounds, huge red flag. Like, this is a bigger red flag to me than Luka Doncic showing up to a training camp last season at 260 pounds, which eventually led to his trade to the Lakers. Now he's gotten his weight under control, so it doesn't really matter. But this is a big red flag that needs to be addressed. And in terms of trading for somebody, there's so many players on the market that we don't realize that there is an opportunity to go out and get someone. We could, say for the Jazz, go out and get Justif Nurkic on a cheap deal. His contract isn't blow me out of the water bad to the point where we can get somebody. But like Draymond said last week, have you ever seen anybody win a trade with Danny Ainge? So I would just brush that off and just put that to the side right now. You could look at, say, the Magic or any other bottom-dwelling team that really know they're going nowhere. One team I like to think about right now is going after, let's say, Dallas or Memphis right now. Because as I mentioned before, Derek Lively, he is a 7'3" guy who can man the middle and grab rebounds over, say, some 7-footers or even guys who are 6'10", 6'11". So I do like that, but looking at the standings, there are a lot of teams that know right now they're not in a good place. Like, you look at Boston, obviously Boston's not going to be that team. Indiana, they're taking a gap year. Brooklyn is actually another idea. You could trade for Nick Claxton and his more reasonable contract where he can actually be a physical presence, and you could go bring him in. I like that idea. You could look at Charlotte, who's going nowhere fast. Milwaukee is still figuring it out. And in the West, Sacramento, unfortunately, because of Domantas Sabonis, that's not gonna happen anymore. And looking at New Orleans, I don't see much happening there either. You could go after Memphis and try and get Zach Edey, which I would like to see, but it still remains to be seen. There are a lot of guys on the market that you could go out and get, and just it'll fill that void both in the short term while you're waiting to trade Jonathan Kuminga, as well as the long term. If he's the right fit, it's like, boom, you've got a guy who's going to man the middle, and you could just move a lot of other pieces around. Because as I've said on multiple episodes, the Warriors window ends after next season. It's closed, the door's shut, it's time to rebuild, because all the guys are coming off the books, they're going to have a ton of cap space, and they can use that cap space to take on bad contracts while also staying competitive. Yeah, they say you want to get a high draft pick for the best value, but end of the day, with all these guys coming out being one and dones, they're all goose eggs. You're not sure what you're going to get coming out of the draft. He may be good one year and then just fall to the rest. Look at Ja Morant. he had superstar potential, but because of his off the court issues, he might never reach that potential. Look at Zion Williamson, biggest, easily the most heralded prospect since LeBron James. He was the number one guy drafted in 19, and he hasn't lived up to the hype. So I look at it this way: draft picks are goose eggs. It's up to the team to develop them in order to become great. Yeah, they might have potential, but potential's worth as much as a fugazi. It's not real until they show you that it is real. Maturity is more valuable than potential because maturity can provide more value on the court because they know what to do in certain situations, they know how to react in certain situations, and they know how not to get too big for their own britches. So look at Steph, for example. Steph was a senior when he was a junior or a senior. I can't remember off the top of my head when he came out to get drafted by the Warriors. And Klay Thompson was not a rookie either. I believe he was a sophomore or junior before he came out. So maturity does matter when selecting the next generation of players, and just going for the most talented guy isn't always going to pay off. Hell, look at Ben Simmons. That was a huge mistake. But finding the right big to fill that void is the first move the Warriors need to make in order to solve the problem and not be a lottery-bound team. Now, bottom line is, as I said, roster moves need to be made. If that means selling high on Pods and bringing in another high-tier center, so be it. Pods has shown that he can be that guy, but he's been extremely inconsistent. For the way the Warriors need to be right now, they need consistency, and they need to fill voids that or fill the craters that they've created by their lack of roster moves. Now, Pods, he could go from top of the world one day to bottom of the barrel the next. So I say sell high on him. If that means trading Moses Moody too to get a better return, so be it. But the Warriors have to do something about this roster. I said it all summer. They need to find a big. They need to find guys that fit the system and know their role, because there are a lot of guys that want bigger roles, but they're not ready for those roles right now. And if the Warriors are going to win, they need to make these moves. Now, that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, if you enjoyed the show today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you have any trade ideas on who to trade Pods and Moody or maybe Buddy Hield for, feel free to comment below, as I love hearing your ideas. And as always, go Dubs.